Hi, everybody. Okay, recording is started. We are doing our team training today on my very favorite topic. Every month, at the top of the month, we have a leaders call where we kind of plan out the month. We talk through like what is going well with our teams, where are people struggling, what holes do we need to fill in terms of training, what value can we pour into all of you, all of us, all of one another. And the topic that really bubbled up was really cultivating that mindset for success that really is essential. Like it is like the thing that will keep people stuck and like in their tracks. And it is the one precursor to success. And it's something that we can talk about. I was talking through someone the idea of hard skills and soft skills recently, and hard skills being like how to make a sale, how to do something on social media, how to those hard skills of like the mechanics, how to set up a link, things like that. But the soft skills are these internal components, right? The stuff that's going on in the space between our ears. And I know that a lot of us came from another company where we talked about mindset, we talked about personal development a lot. And I think that was probably the best gift that we received in the last 10, 15 years was that strong message that our mindset is going to shape our success. Our mindset is going to shape our joy in this industry, our joy in our life. It is going to shape our resilience. It is going to shape our ability to influence and help and shape the world around us, right? And it's not really fair if you think about it, because we don't come in with an even playing field when we start this, right? Some people come in having done a lot of work on themselves or having received a lot of training. This might be something that's not a foreign concept to them. If that's you, raise your hand and put it, like if you came into this business really having a strong mindset, a strong sense of self, a lot of like having already been poured into yourself in that way, put it in the chat why that was the case. I will tell you that for me, I came into this 11 years ago as a school counselor. I had been a waitress and a bartender. I was a yoga instructor. So I had, like, even through grad school, you have to do a lot of counseling, like it's a requirement for a counselor to go through counseling as part of their education. But in terms of having this mindset for business success, I was at a deficit. I thought I knew a lot about it. I could probably, I could support people through their emotions, but I really learned really fast that my skin was thin. My emotions ruled me. I was in, and we're going to talk about a growth mindset. I was in a fixed mindset, and that really dictated my ability to succeed and grow for a really long time. And we want to give you those tools like right now. We want to really just address this because, like I said, people come in at different places and then we get stuck in this comparison of like, well, why is she growing faster than me? Or why does this seem so much easier for them? Or why is this happening for them and not me? Anyone ever feel themselves get in that trap? I do. I did. I see it all the time. And so we have really wanted to boil this down and to kind of the 5 pillars of mindset, of just this really foundational piece of mindset. And you guys, the most beautiful thing about this is it is so accessible. It is so learnable. And we're going to teach it to you today. And there's such an easy place to start. And so before we jump into this, I wanted to just kind of like front load it. There's going to be a lot, and you might have multiple pillars that you are like, yes, I need to work on this. I want you to identify one thing that you feel most convicted about working on after this call. As you listen and learn, like pick one. We're going to start there. Okay. And we're going to try to help you identify which of these mindset pillars are really serving as your roadblock right now. And we'll unpack that with the idea of like limiting beliefs and maybe self-talk that might sound really familiar to you. So we're just going to dig right in. So I'm really excited about this training, and our goal is that you come away from this call with a little bit of self-awareness, like an aha moment, like oh, okay, I see. Like once we can like diagnose maybe what's going on, we can do the work, right? Because it's just so easy to work on. It doesn't mean that's going to happen overnight, but this is one of the easiest things you can train yourself on. Because you can see immediate results with a decision. And I always like to say that, and it's a process. It's not going to be like you like say, hey, I'm not going to struggle with this anymore. And then you're just cured. No, we carry into 30, 40, 50 years of hardwired training in this one mindset. So it does take a little while to reprogram. But if you can train a bicep, if you can train a glute, if you can train your abs, you can train your mindset muscle. And I really firmly believe that. So all of that, without further ado, let's just jump into this party. And we're going to talk today about resilience, positivity, growth mindset, discipline, and gratitude. We're going to jump right into the first one, which I don't know what that is. Is that resilience? I think it's
me.
Go for it, Lyndsi.
Resilience. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm actually really excited to talk about this too, because she's right. And I want to help with your resilience today. I want to help bring awareness to what is actually like, I want to take you outside of what's going on in your mind and help you like be able to see it or be aware of it from just like a little step back. So then when you do wake up every single morning, you're like, oh, okay, this is supposed to happen. And here's the process to like shift that. So I think if you guys, the leaders, I don't know if you guys wake up every morning and you're just so excited and you're like so pumped to do the things, or if you guys have moments where you're just like, I don't know if I should post or if I should have that combo. Like, if you all get so excited and you have no issues with that, shout out to you. But I've had certain times where I'm like that. And I've had certain times where I've been like, okay, let's, and what I realized over these years in this is that it comes down to like your thoughts and beliefs. And so I want to walk you through a framework that you can literally take with you. And you can use this for everything, even beyond growing your business. But today we're going to, of course, focus on it for growing your business. So this is called Thought Model. And before I get into it, I want you to know, and I think I talked about this on the next slide, but that's okay. We're gonna make it all make sense. Your mind is not your friend. Just hold on to that for a minute. Your mind's job is to protect you and keep you safe. And the issue that comes up, and this is where it's like literally write this down and like hold on to this, is the mind doesn't know if the house is on fire or if you're just challenging yourself to put a post on social and you're like, a little nervous about that. And what happens is your mind is like, oh, no, this is not safe. This is not safe, because it doesn't know, because it thinks that something dangerous is happening, when truth be told is you're just challenging yourself to stretch and grow. This is something that I learned over the years, and it's been so helpful to be aware and be able to reframe and like rewrite the story, because you get to do that. Okay. So once you like understand, like, okay, it's trying to keep me safe, it's trying to keep me protected, that's its job. Because if indeed you were a house on fire, if there was real danger, like that's its job, is to put you in that awareness to be like, gotta go, gotta move, do this. But it does the same thing when we're working business like this, which is what really can stop you. So the thought model is something I want to walk you guys through today. We have two different models we're going to walk through here, two different processes. The first part of thought model is your circumstance. Okay. So in our case, we're talking about growing a business, right? So the first thing is your thoughts and your beliefs, which cause feelings. Feelings bring your action out. And if you aren't taking action, guess what? We don't have results. So we want to acknowledge this, become aware of it. So the first things first is when you have a circumstance, okay, I need to talk to some people, I need to go make some new connections, and your first thought is like, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? Like, think of all these thoughts that come up that aren't the most positive, that you're like, what if I post this and someone makes a comment? Like, this is what everybody deals with, okay? And so what happens is your feelings are like, they start to get anxious. You are like, I don't know if I should invite. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I think everybody's been there. Hopefully I'm not alone in this, but I've certainly had moments where I've been like, what, what do I say? Should I say anything? What if they block me? Like all the things. Okay. So when we get into that feeling of anxiousness about all of these activities, the action doesn't happen because we're just like, what's gonna, I don't know what's gonna come of this. And so what I want to help you do, and then as you can see in the thought model, you end up with no results. We get no new customers, we get no new partners, we get no team. And we are then maybe 90 days in and we're like, okay, nothing's happening. But we really have to look at this. And what I want you to do is I want you to reframe the thought and the belief so we can change the feeling. And this is, consider, we were just talking about the book, 5-second rule, where she'll have you change your thought in 5 seconds to, I'm really excited about this. Okay. You can go to the next slide, Jamie. So we have the circumstance. We're still at the circumstance, right? We're growing our business. Our thoughts and our beliefs started with a little anxiety, and we're going to just become aware of like, okay, this is freaking me out a little bit. I don't know how these people are going to react to me inviting them, my post, this. And guys, like, I've like been doing this for almost 14 years, and still to this day, I'll be like, I don't know if I should post that, but, and then we flip it. Okay. So you rewrite the story, you reframe the thought, and you say, I'm excited about whose life I could impact today. I'm excited for them to feel the way I feel on these products. I'm excited for them to feel the way I feel in this company, in this community, with these people. And all of a sudden, like even me just saying that, like right away, I'm starting to feel the shift and get excited. And then it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's post. Let's connect with 5 people. And that gives you potential. If you were to do this every day, potential for 5 new customers this month or 5 new partners. Okay. So it's like this. I wanted to keep this simple and make you just become aware of the fact that your mind wants to keep you safe. The thoughts are going to create feelings. So if you're waking up, which many of us probably wake up and we're like, okay, I need to do something today. I need to make a post. I need to do things. Instead of like letting the anxiety or the fear, if you will, take over, I want you to shift that. You can do this through journaling. Probably the best way to do it would be some journaling, a little bit at 5 minutes. It really helps. You can listen to an audio. There's going to be some book recommendations, I'm sure, coming up that just helps you just reframe. Okay. Because when we're focused on like what could go wrong, we just create more of that. And we don't need that. We want to, like you guys, there are people that really want this stuff, that want to be a part of your team. We just want to shift this and reframe our story and our thoughts, which then will create the action, which then you're going to start to see results. Okay. So that's thought model. And I just want to add to this, the definition of resilience is the ability to recover and easily adjust. So like Jamie said in the beginning of this call, this is indeed a muscle building activity for your mind. Like every single day, I would say maybe over time, it might start to get a bit easier, but even to this day, I still have to like reframe many a times. So please know you're not alone. It's normal. Our minds are just wired to keep us safe. That's how they were created. And we just have to be staying aware of like, oh yes, it wants to keep me safe. Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but we're good. I can make a post. I'm going to be safe. Now I'll add to this. If your nervous system is shot and frozen, only because I've been through this before, I would recommend adding in either EFT tapping, which is called emotional freedom technique, or some kind of breath work just to help calm everything down so your body does match your mind. Because there's been many moments where I was like, okay, I'm on board, but my body was like, yeah, no, we're not on board. So just wanted to add this extra little piece that sometimes the body won't agree. And all you need to do is something like EFT tapping or add in some breath work, some deep breathing, in addition to working this thought model, which can be, again, done in journaling. And, you can do this in about 5-10 minutes, and you can then get on with your work and get on with your day. That's all I got.
I love it. Thank you for that. And resilience is such an important thing that I think we all need to really intentionally embrace. I don't know anyone who's gone through this business for any significant amount of time or any significant amount of success that hasn't experienced failure or setbacks or like falling flat on your face, right? And the resilience is your ability to keep going in the face of that, right? A lot of people don't choose resilience. They stay stuck. They stay in that failure. They let that define them and hold them back. And so choosing the things that are going to pull you forward. And I think that's such a great, perfect framework to hold on to, because sometimes it's really hard to navigate, to know how to navigate. Like, how do I navigate when I struggle, when I fail, when I fall on my face? So having something to hold on to is really great there. So thanks, Linz. Kelsey's going to talk about maybe one of my favorite topics in the entire world, with a cute baby on her lap.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm excited about growth mindset as well. This is actually my favorite thing. I'm a John Maxwell girl through and through. And this is just something that he is just so passionate about. So when we were talking about this, I was like, I definitely want this subject because it's something that I feel like I study all the time. And on the subject of resilience, just bear with me. I have 3 very small human beings that I take care of on a daily basis, and they are semi-distracted right now and pacified. So we're going to try to get through this. Okay. So with growth mindset, I wanted to pull up first a quote that I had by John Maxwell that I think is that I want everybody just to kind of meditate on for a second. He says, growth is the great separator between those who succeed and those who do not. When I see a person beginning to separate themselves from the pack, it's always due to personal growth. I think a lot of times I hear people, especially new advocates, come in, and I've been in direct sales for over 10 years as well. And I always hear people come in and they think that, that they don't have something that somebody else has. They're like, I'm doing everything. I'm inviting. I'm showing up. I'm, posting. I'm doing everything you tell me to do. And then when I ask them what their personal growth strategy is, that's where their eyes kind of glaze over and they go blank. They're doing the trackers. We give it to them. But I honestly, truly believe that unless you have the mindset for success, the mindset to grow, you're going to feel stuck. You can do everything. You can check off every single box. But if you're not continuing to grow into the person that you need to be in order to find the success that you want, you're going to stay flatlined in your business. So I want to dive into a little bit about what this looks like. Can go to the next slide. I'd love this too. Like I said, working hard is not going to guarantee you success. But if you're intentional about the growth, it's going to compound in ways that you cannot imagine. When I was really new to network marketing, I actually reached out to a mentor that was, okay, hold on. I actually reached out to a mentor of mine. And you're going to just watch it, please. I'm on a call, babe. I'm sorry, guys. I knew this was going to happen the second I started talking. But I was actually, baby. Okay. I was on a call with a mentor. And I was like super excited because I was brand new to network marketing. And I was like, hey, this is the big goal that I'm going for. And I was very, very far away from it. And I was like, what do I need to do to make that happen? And I was like waiting for this. I had my pen and my paper out. And I was like, I'm going.
You're going to get your stuff.
And he responds back and he says, you need to grow into the type of person that is capable of achieving that goal. And I remember being so annoyed by that answer because I was ready for like the secret sauce, but he led me into something that has completely changed my life. And that's what I want to share with you guys today, because until I was able to mentally get myself into that position where I was like, okay, I'm working on it, girls. So I'm like literally holding him and managing this and trying to train you guys at the same time. This is life now, resilience. But until I started sitting down and thinking to myself, okay, like what type of person do I need to be in order to achieve that goal? Like, what do I need to do that's when it actually happened. And I can tell you that ever since that conversation, I actually did achieve that goal that year. And that's what keeps that in the back of my brain. Okay. So the 5 steps that I believe that you need to do to launch your own growth journey. And the first one is to make the commitment to intentionally grow. And this might sound super self-explanatory, but nobody improves by accident, right? Like personal development is not going to happen by anybody else. And once you're done with your education, like once we graduate high school or if we go through college, like it is your job to continue to grow because nobody else is going to do it for you. So just keep that in the back of your mind that, getting to your potential in life, like that begins with your decision. And when you make it up to your mind that you're going to grow, you're opening that door to make it happen. Next thing I always like to say is like, make that commitment public. You don't want to go through a growth journey alone, right? Like we're so much likely to stick to a plan if we share that we're going for something or that we're on this growth journey. Cause I'm telling you right now, like I've made tons of private commitments and they're extremely powerless. Like nothing happens when I'm just kind of in my own head because nobody else knows that I'm doing it. So of course I can let myself down. I am the easiest person to let down. But when you tell other people like what you're trying to do, it puts pressure on you to make sure it happens. Whenever I was going for that goal that I was talking about, I said that I was going for that goal. I made it very, very public and I shared my process along the way. And it wasn't a shock to anybody at the end of the year when I made that happen. And it was because I had to hold myself accountable. And the same thing right now, I'm training for a 10K. I've shared every single part of that journey because it's a goal of mine. And because I now have to hold myself accountable. I could have gotten out of it if I kept it to myself, but now everybody knows I'm doing it. Same thing happens with your growth journey. The next thing is you want to really identify where you'd like to grow. This is where a lot of people go wrong. I always see in team pages, people saying things like, what's the best books to read? What's everybody reading right now? And that's not how personal growth is. You need to decide what you need to read, right? Like I'm not going to be reading the same thing Courtney is or the same thing that Jamie is because I'm going through like, look at my life right now compared to Jamie's life, right? Like we have very different lives and that's okay. That's great, but we're not going to be reading the same personal development because we're both dealing with different things in our lives. So you need to understand that personal growth does require intention. It requires focus. And getting to those specific areas of improvement, it gives you direction. So you really want to think like pick 2 to 5 areas that you want to grow. I think that 5 is pretty heavy. I would say like 2 is like your sweet spot there and invest time to developing that skill. Baby, I'm almost done. The next one is investing an hour a day in that area of growth. So I'm going to go into this on the next slide a little bit more, but I really want to just let you know that it needs to be something that you're doing every day. This needs to become like a habit that you're creating that every single day I'm going to show up to grow in my area of growth, not anybody else's, where I personally need to grow. And I'll break that one down for you in just a second. But the last one is investing an hour a week on reflection. And I love this one the most because I think that a lot of times, like you need to make sure that it's actually working. If you're going to be going through all this growth, figure out like what lessons you're learning, be willing to stop, be willing to pause and allow your lessons to just kind of resonate with you because, because if you can do that every single day, it gives you direction on where to go from there. So I want to take a second and deep dive back into that investing 1 hour a day and so your daily growth plan should look like. What you want to do is every single day is sit down and prepare to grow, right? Like we're not just going to be throwing a podcast in our ears and just rocking out the door. And yes, sometimes that's what your growth looks like. Like that's pretty much what mine looks like right now. But I also say to myself, okay, if I'm going to be taking the baby on a walk for my growth time, like I need to put myself in the mind of somebody who's ready to learn. Like I'm not just listening. I'm like, okay, I have my phone out as I'm walking with him. I am taking notes in the notes part of my phone. I'm putting myself in that mindset. And then making sure that I'm listening and practicing something in my area of growth, right? Like practice makes progress, doesn't make perfect. And so every single day I'm making sure, okay, if I learn something in that growth that day, I need to make sure I'm implementing it immediately. It's not just going to sit in the notes of my phone now. Like I need to make sure that I'm implementing it. And then last but not least is going to be reflecting. So what went right that action that I took? What didn't go right? What can I do better next time? So those are the things that you want to think of is just prepare yourself to do it. Make sure you're taking action immediately and then reflect on how it went. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is some action tips in your growth plan here. And this, if you could just take a screenshot of this, this is what I recommend you starting in regard to figuring out what it is and where you want to go for your own personal growth journey. And the first thing is I would recommend is taking one limiting belief that's holding you back. So basically Lyndsi just walked you through that. She walked you through that framework. Like what is that thought that you're having that is holding you back? Now you want to think about one goal that you have that's going to align with that vision. And then you want to take 10 minutes every single day to start learning something new in that area. So if you're having trouble inviting, going back to Lyndsi's example, I'm having a really hard time inviting, but I really, really, really want to hit SAV this month. Okay. That's my goal. Well, now I need to go take 10 minutes. It's going to help me invest in how to become a better inviter. What podcasts do I need to listen to? What videos should I do? What training do I need to get on? And then and then number 4, who do I need to talk to make sure that I'm on the right path? Somebody who's already achieved that goal, somebody who is walking before me. And then last but not least, take that new habit and put it into your daily routine. So now you know, until I become the type of inviter that I want to be, I will spend 10 minutes every single day becoming the type of person that's really, really good at inviting. So that's what I got for you.
I love it. That's amazing. And I love that you made sure to just hit on that. Like this is a really personal journey. So like identifying this personal time and like giving yourself that time for it to integrate, right? Like we can just I think a lot of times people depersonalize and like cookie cutter that personal development, that growth journey. And then it's just always in and like not leaving space for it to integrate, for it to take root. I always like to say, like, you got to wring out that sponge. When it's saturated, it stops becoming effective, right? And so I think personal growth and personal development is the same way. And so like taking that time, I loved all of that, Kelsey. That was amazing. And you never ever have to apologize or worry about multitasking with the baby. We got you. And that was awesome. And I'm like so impressed. Okay, positivity. Enneagram 7 lady, come on down.
That's me, guys. I'm Courtney Bell, for those of you that may not know me. And just for some context here, I think a lot of times you'll find me using a lot of sports analogies, comparisons when it comes to building your business. I was a Division I swimmer. My husband was a college swimmer. He now coaches college swimming. So we spend a lot of time in growth environments with his athletes and just like the whole arena of sports in itself. So I always like to bring these back to some sports analogies because I think sometimes that helps the brain really be able to connect to, well, my experiences that helped me, I think, build a successful business the first time and then doing it again the second time. Don't worry, Kelsey, my house is chaos too, as you can hear behind me. Okay, so next slide here, Jamie. I'm sure you guys have all heard this quote before, but whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that is really like the baseline of what you want to do before you intentionally sit down to think about, like, what do you want this business to be for you? I think we all have very different goals. I know that when whoever probably shared this business opportunity, you probably said something like, it can be whatever you want it to be, but don't let that phrase like hold you back from dreaming big or hold you back from setting big goals. You have to really truly believe that you will be successful in this space if you want that to happen, even if you have no idea what success really looks like. You're going to sort of find your way along the way. I know many of us that have been around in direct selling for 10 plus years. What we came in and started doing didn't look like what it did at the end of year 1 or the end of year 2 or 3 or 4. Like, we sort of built our foundation and reevaluated where we were at based on what it was that we were doing. But we had to continue to have that mindset of, I can do this. I can figure it out. I can handle objections. I can, navigate a setback that might be happening, any circumstance that's coming. You have to have a positive shift to it. And that doesn't mean like this toxic positivity where everything is just rainbows and butterflies. I don't think anybody is suggesting that. It's just that you have to be the person that believes in yourself the most, right? Like, you're always going to have critics out there, right? But like, you have to just pretend that doesn't exist, because if you are your own worst critic, then your business will never get off the ground. You have to come into this with the mindset of, I can do this. I can figure it out. I can navigate. Everything is figure outable. That's a good book too, Jamie, to add to your list. Everything is figure outable. Okay, so positive thinking is going to lead to increased productivity. So if you sit down at your desk and you think to yourself, this is too hard, I'm too overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, you're going to continue to sit at your desk and you'll probably never start. But if you sit down at your desk and you think, or it doesn't have to be your desk. I built my first business sitting on my sofa when my children were sleeping, or standing at my kitchen island while I was feeding, a toddler and an infant breakfast, right? So you have to really plug yourself with the mindset of, I'm going to tackle this today. You know, I'm going to clean out my inbox. I'm going to have conversations with 3 friends today. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to read through my comments on my posts, and I'm not going to allow any negative feedback to set me back, right? You have to have that positive thought process working through. It's going to lead to better decision making. It's going to lead to more confidence, and it's going to lead to results. As I was listening to Lyndsi and I was listening to Kelsey share, one thing that kind of came to mind for me, and this is very true. And when Lyndsi had said, I put in the comments there when she talked about sometimes you wake up and like you're filled with like different like thoughts and your mind is cloudy, you know, I get that way when I'm not taking action. Inaction for me breeds fear. Action breeds confidence. So you don't have to climb the whole mountain today. Pick one task to start with, and that level of action is going to lead to confidence. And that's going to keep you positive, right? I mean, you're going to have times where your brain starts to sort of like play tricks on you, but take action. Check something off your list. Find that thing that helps you feel accomplished, and then that's going to lead to keeping your brain in that positive mindset. Okay, next slide, Jamie. Okay, so 5 ways that you can increase your positive thinking here. Use affirmations. I am statements. Okay, I am a successful business owner. I am an SAV. I am a leader of leaders. I am. Use those statements well before there are even things that come into mind. And your I am statements might come earlier. I am a badass. That's another book that you'll probably see us talk about later. Remind yourself to focus on the good things, no matter how small they are, because some days you're going to feel like the world is against you, but you have to remember to give yourself the good things, no matter how small they are, because not every day is going to be this like huge monumental thing shift that's happened. Oftentimes it's those really, really small daily actions that over time are going to give you results. They take time. Time is the piece, right? And the comparison game can be really tricky. And a lot of times you might see somebody that you aspire to be. They seem to have achieved the things that you want to achieve, but the one thing that's probably the only difference that separates you from them is time. Time. Us leaders speaking on this call have been around a long time. We have time on our sides. We have learned to get through all of these things. We've learned to handle objections, right? So I want you, as I'm speaking today, I want you to remember that we all too were beginners at one point. And actually 9-10 months ago, we were all beginners again. And we're still beginners and we're still learning. And I think that's one of the things that excited me a lot about making a transition over to, another company was that I get to be a beginner again. I get to be on this like same playing field as the friends that I want to surround myself. It's like, I don't know the answer. Let's figure it out. Or it's like, well, can you go find that and bring it back to us and share it to us? Those are all really, those are things that keep you like, in the game and immersed in just allowing yourself to be not the expert at something. No one's asking you to be an expert. You have to just be like, I will find the answer to this. And it's okay to say that to people too. Like when people ask you questions and you don't know, you don't have to pretend to be an expert. Just say, I have no idea what the answer to that is, but let me go find it out and I'll get back to you. And I think so for some people that they struggle to do that because they don't want to seem like it's like a weakness trap or something. But what I've found is that my folks really appreciate the fact that I have resources, I have a team, I have people that provide and help me in that capacity because I'm never going to know all the answers. I'll never claim to know all the answers. Do something nice for somebody. Sometimes it's just like a nice like mood boost. I don't know if Sarah's still on here. Yes, she is. But yesterday I was talking about, but okay, go ask Daddy. Okay, I'm on a call. Please. Thank you. Yesterday I was talking about just like we got back from vacation and life is crazy and you're like thrown back into all the back to school stuff. And I opened up my email and Sarah had sent me a little Starbucks gift card. Like here you go to get through your day. And it was just like, not that you have to send somebody a gift card, but like it was really out of the blue. And it was such a nice, generous thing that I was like, wow, she knows me so well. Like I thrive on caffeine and chaos. And she knew exactly that and entered my inbox. Focus. So thank you, Sarah. Focus on the present moment, right? We can't control what's going to happen a week from now, tomorrow, a year from now. All we can do is focus on what exactly is happening right now. So use those growth plan strategies that Kelsey shared and put them into action and just focus on doing it today. Just focus on today. And then surround yourself with positive people. I think that's like one of the best things about direct sales is that it tends to create, like brings all of these like very growth mindset folks together and allows for us to get surrounded by like-minded folks. Like you'll see a lot of posts like that, like finding like-minded people. Because how many of you have found yourself in work situations where you're like, oh my gosh, I am like nothing like any of these people. Like how, like, yeah, me too. Like education is full of wide spectrum of people that find positive things, people that just complain about everything. But I'll tell you what, I have found that people that complain the most are really just missing all the growth mindset stuff. They really just need some work on their growth mindset, right? Or they're bored. That could be that too. Okay, next slide, Jamie. Okay, so we're going to practice a little bit here. We can screenshot just for like the lack of, we don't have a ton of time. So, but this is a really good practice for you guys to do. And it sort of expands on everything that Lyndsi and Kelsey just said. But, you know, write down 3 business goals that you have for yourself. You've got to give yourself some direction. Without direction, again, your business is probably not going, it's not going to just miraculously grow on its own. You've got to give your business some direction. So you need to write down 3 business goals that you have. You also need to think about an area you'd like to improve on, right? Like we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and I would encourage you to spend a lot more time in your strength zone, because I think that'll always be something that'll keep this a little more enjoyable for you. But like we can't ignore the weaknesses too. Find a weakness that you'd like to improve on. And then I want you to take those 3, hi Luce. I want you to take those 3 goals and I want you to write I am statements. Okay, Luce, go bring that to Dad, okay, please? She found the loudest toy today. Okay, the last thing I want to sort of like end on, hey, Lucy, that's too loud. They hear it. They hear it. Go see Daddy, okay? The last thing I'd like to sort of end on is, I thought about this, and again, here's the sports reference here, but I took this year, the US Olympic trials for swimming were at Lucas Oil Stadium. And I know a lot of us have spent time in there before, but they built a 50-meter pool inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. It was the coolest thing. And so I left my daughter with my parents and I took the boys down there just for one night. And it was really cool because they got to see like all the athletes being interviewed. And, you know, some of the athletes that were swimming were people that my kids knew because my husband has coached them before. And so the one guy, after he had like an incredible year, I think he made the Olympic team in like 4 events. And they interviewed him because Olympic trials previously were 3 years earlier. In COVID 2020, they didn't have Olympics. They pushed it back a year. So in 2021, he was there and he was like young. He might have been 19 and he didn't make any Olympic teams. I'm not even sure that he made it back. And so he was kind of like this big breakout athlete and had such a phenomenal year 3 years later. And the woman who was interviewing him said to him, and she said, did you ever imagine, like after your performance in 2021, that you would be like an Olympic qualifier in 4 events? And he said, yeah, I did. I thought I would be an Olympic qualifier. Like never a doubt in my mind. You know, like I think sometimes people are waiting for people to say like, no, I can't even imagine that happened. But he was like, yeah, actually, I did. I expected this to happen. This is exactly what's supposed to come out. But this is somebody who has put into all practice all of those positive mindset things. They've rehearsed that every day. I am an Olympian. I am an impact maker. I am whatever it might be. And those are the things when you start to show up every day in your business and have those I am statements and recreate your mind to thinking, yes, I can. I am a successful business owner. I am somebody that will leave a legacy. I am, when you say those things to yourself and rehearse them every day, those things, you have more likelihood of bringing those things to life as you practice that every single day.
I love it. Okay, we're going to keep going and talk about discipline. That was amazing, Courtney. Thank you. Jace, you're up. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Halfway through Courtney's, I was like, yes, amen, hallelujah. It's like having a preacher moment. It's fine. So I'm going to talk to you guys about discipline. Just to give you a little background with this, for me, it seems like everyone gave a little background. So I have come from a very, very high achieving family. Both my parents are graduate, college educated. My sisters all have their master's degrees. One has a doctorate in behavioral therapy and special education. One's a teen and child psychologist and therapist. The other one's a teacher, and then both my brothers are entrepreneurs and have extremely successful businesses. So I come from a very long line of discipline. I also grew up in a really extremely religious household, which was took a lot of discipline. And then I've moved 17 times and had to start over a lot in the last 10 years. So I sort of was raised and continue to be forged in discipline. It's the only way that I can function in my life. So we can go to the first slide. So that's just a little bit of background. I could talk about this topic forever to death. I will say before we go into this, all of these things that have already been talked about are connected. Without each other, they don't work. And generally speaking, when you find yourself stagnating, I think one of these things is missing. And sometimes it's just looking at, like Jamie said at the beginning, one of these 4 pillars and realizing, okay, this is my area, this is my whole, right? And then focusing in that one spot. So one of the things that I've learned about discipline is, and I love this quote. This is actually from an Olympic Kenyan runner. This is one of his quotes. Only the disciplined ones are purely free in life, and the undisciplined are slaves to their moods and passions. And if you really, really ingest that, what I learned about discipline is that it's very physical. Discipline is a very, very physical action. And you can sit there and think about this and think to yourself, no, but mindset is discipline. Spirituality is discipline. Intellect is discipline. And that's true. But most of the time, in order to achieve success in those areas, it comes from some kind of physical repeated action in those areas, right? So if you think, if anything I can do for you is kind of reframe what discipline is, sometimes it's this beast that we can't get our arms around, but discipline really is what can take our emotion, our spirituality, our intellect, our success, right? Our relationships, our career, all of the things to that next level. So that's one of the things that I really like to help reframe people in when they're thinking about discipline, is if you are relying on things that wane or end, like motivation, right? That is something that can wane. That is something that can end. If you focus it on those things, then we fail. But discipline is the mindset of being in a state of constant work. And I think about this with yoga because I do yoga religiously. Even at rest in yoga, you're working towards peace, right? You're working towards the ultimate state of presence in whatever you're doing. And so one thing that I've learned is that not all work is the same, right? And there's work that refuels and builds us, and then there's work that depletes us and takes from us. And I think when you really ground your discipline in the things that build you and grow you, that's when your life starts to really change and operate and function differently. My husband's doing a yoga backstretch program right now, and the guy who's teaching it was on drugs, drinking every day, working in an office, like super, super unhealthy. And one of his friends took him to a yoga class one time, and he changed those addictions to something healthier. He became a yoga teacher. He now teaches all over the world, right? So he almost switched his obsession and his addictive personality into something that was positive, that grew him instead of tore him down. And that's when his whole life changed. So that's just kind of an example of that. You can go to the next slide. But moving into this, the discipline piece of it is physical. Discipline can take our emotion and our everything to the next level. So when you're lacking discipline, this is a really, really important thing. When you're not disciplined in a certain area, it's really important to understand why. This is one of the key parts to moving forward and being able to take steps towards the solution, right? And sometimes it's really obvious and sometimes it's really obscure, and that's the harder part to figure out. But when we're lacking discipline, right? A lot of us are like, I'm unmotivated, right? Like my mind is weak because I have so much going on. Our capacity is low, our energy is depleted. We're overthinking a lot. We're overloaded a lot. It can be lifestyle. It can be circumstantial. Like there's so many different reasons, but at the very, very end of the day, what I always think it is a lack of emotional control. Discipline requires a lack of emotion. It is a physical action that you take. And one thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that discipline actually functions best in truth. It functions the best in fact. And why discipline is so cool is because you can say, I don't feel good right now, but I know for a fact that I need to exercise. Does that make sense? It's that reframing when you're looking at discipline that really helps you take that emotion out of it. And I deal with this a lot because I have an autistic son. And so we have to focus a lot on whether you feel like it or not, this still has to be done. You still have to learn this, right? You still have to adapt and adopt this skill set if you want to function in life. And so it really is just learning how to do that with yourself. So identifying kind of what's causing that lack of discipline, and then really understanding that the solution is emotional intelligence work. It really is learning how to manage yourself better. And this is a life process for a lot of people. And you guys know there's a lot of adults that don't know how to do this. There's a lot of people that don't know how to do this, but that is a step number one. That's the first place that I start with almost anyone that needs to do any kind of personal development work. I always point them in the direction of emotional intelligence, because if you can get that under control, you can take action, right? So emotional intelligence, the solution is also physical movement of some kind, because discipline is physical. I think small steps with a big picture approach is the thing that works. That's the formula. It's taking really, really small steps. And then when you find yourself super overwhelmed in that small step or that big step, then stepping outside of that and looking at your big picture, right? So again, just another example with my son, if we want him to be able to function and live on his own outside of our house, right? We're going to have some really hard conversations and critical moments when he's young, to teach him those hard lessons so that when he can grow up and be on his own, he can handle that. So a lot of the times the way that we handle parenting, for example, is with those small steps and big picture approach. We're trying to get this person independent, right? But here's what we're working on right now. And it's the same thing with ourselves. It's really understanding this is the thing that I need to do to grow. So if you look at resilience, positivity, and you look at all of these things we just talked about, what are these small steps that I need to do and why? The big picture is this is who I'm ultimately trying to become so that I can achieve X, Y, or Z. And then the plan and the routine is the last piece of it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So here's just, I wanted to keep this really simple because I think simplicity is really key with discipline as well. The awareness is the number one step. So if you're going to get started and you need to get disciplined in a specific area, that awareness of why you're not disciplined in that area is critical. I guarantee you it's something attached to some kind of emotional response that you're having. I guarantee you, whatever it is. So finding what that is important, and then working on emotional intelligence in that specific spot, right? So a lot of people don't want to exercise but they know they're overweight, right? But being overweight makes them feel a certain way, which holds them back from getting started. It's a really vicious cycle, but it's super important to understand. So the third part of that is just creating a really simple, and I loved that Kelsey said a 1 to 2 step maximum starting point is really important. So with discipline specifically, if you create a 1 to 2 step physical routine of some kind, it's going to cultivate a state of readiness. It's going to tell your mind and all these other areas that we just talked about that you're serious, and they're going to do it regardless of how you feel. It's adopting an act now, think later mindset. One thing, I think it was Jamie that said a few weeks ago, I don't know what we were talking about, but she's like, I learned this technique where I just put all my problems in a bag and seal it up if I've thought about them too long, and I put them in my closet and then I move on with my life. That is 100% the process of discipline. You have to do that. And in the beginning, if you can do that and you can put all that emotion into one spot, tie it in a bow, and put it away for a second and focus on the factual work that needs to be done, what happens is your capacity and your energy and your motivation come alive. And then all of a sudden you're functioning differently, and you're functioning so much better within that discipline. You're actually finding yourself becoming more free, right? And that's one of the coolest things about discipline is that it really is the ultimate way to take back control of your life, but also at the same time, set yourself completely free, right? Free of, oh my gosh, I can't hit SMT. Oh my gosh, I'll never be a director. Oh my gosh, that all goes away when you really focus on the discipline and you focus in these areas and put all of that away for a second and just focus on the work. So creating that 1 to 2 step routine, keeping that big picture in mind, and then the action steps from that point, once you've kind of gone through how to get started, is one, ask for help. That's one thing that I loved that was already mentioned one time. It's probably one of the hardest steps. Identify the most important needle moving actions forward. That's one thing you can ask your sponsor. What should I be focusing on right now? Because sometimes when we're not disciplined, our mind is all over the place. So if somebody can be like, all you need to worry about is this, this, and this, then you've got your 1 to 2 steps that you can create a routine around. And then focus on the most achievable one, but really understand that mountain, that one that you're avoiding, that one that's like eating at you is your mountain. That is your personal discipline being challenged. And that's where you need to really lean in and do some of this work. So work on one task at a time instead of looking at every single task that needs to be done. Just focus on the one that's present and right in front of you. And then we'll go to the next slide. And this you can just screenshot. This is a really great starting point. This is like your starting point for advocacy. If you're like, I'm in that place, I'm not disciplined, these are the steps that you can take. You can look at these. Am I active, right? They're very basic, but if you can focus on these things and check them off and do this list again and again and again, month after month after month, then I promise you it will compound over time and you will start to see a lot of success with it. So, just in a closing thought, the discipline and hard work is really only going to take you so far, right? I used to think that I could outwork anyone and any obstacle, and it's not true. It's not true. You will stagnate if you're not working on any of these other areas. They are all connected. I have worked to a point where I got myself as far as I could go with hard work. I've been in that place. Right? It's one of the most frustrating places to find yourself in. And that's when you need to look at these other pillars and realize, okay, where's the work that I need to do now? What area do I need to focus on? Sometimes when you think about discipline, again, it functions best on fact and truth. And this is the last thing that I just wanted to close with is, so if you're mentally off, right, while you're trying to get yourself disciplined and you don't have a way to put that aside for a minute, it's like a dog being locked in a cage and like drooling and barking and crying and whining to get out, and you standing outside of the cage with the key, fully able and capable to open the door, but you're not allowed to. That's what happens when you have limiting belief and you're stuck in those mindsets while you're trying to discipline yourself. You have all of the capability to let it out, but discipline functions on fact. So in that moment, staring at the dog and being like, I want to unleash you, I want to let you out, you have to put that emotion aside and you have to focus on fact. I have a key in my hand, the lock is right there. I'm going to try this key and see if it opens the door. That's it. Everything else has to go away. You have to focus right on that present moment and what you're equipped to be able to do to free that piece of the puzzle, if that makes sense. So here's your list. You can get to work, and that's the end of mine.
I love it. Okay, you guys, we've one more pillar, 10 more minutes, stick with it, and we're gonna keep going. And that was, I hope you're really identifying like making some emotional connections. I hope you're able to like be like, oh my gosh, this sounds like me. This feels like me. I am feeling like an aha moment is happening. So we're going to talk about gratitude. It's our 5th pillar. It's kind of my favorite. I mean, growth mindset. I'm also a John Maxwell girl. It's like my favorite thing to train on, but gratitude was the biggest thing for me in my life in this business. And I think it's the trickiest one because I think we all think we're grateful, right? I think most people think that they're grateful. Like, oh yeah, I love my family. I love my God. I love my kids. I love my, but it is probably the most common denominator for people's limiting beliefs and stuckness. And let me tell you why. Okay, but first a little exercise. I'm going to stop sharing. I want you to look at oh, balloons. Awesome. Yes. I'm excited for this exercise. So who could tell me, I want to know what's going wrong in your business? Unmute, type it. What's going wrong? What's not going well in life? What's not going well in your business? Who's got like a laundry list? Raise your hand if you can tell me like 3 things off the top of your head of what's not going well. Dana's nodding her head. Jay's going, okay. I'm sure we all can, right? Now, if I was to put you on the spot and say, Christy, Dana, Jay, Andrea, Jenny, what's going well? Give me your list of wins. What's going awesome in your business? What are you feeling most confident and successful and solid in? Does that come as freely? Does that flow as freely? Or does that give you pause? So one thing you might we're not doing like team meetings here. We do team trainings. And one thing, but what our leaders calls is we start with our wins. And that is because we're training our gratitude muscle. So if I had more time, I'd make you actually tell me what was going well, but we're going to just move on. The point of the exercise is that usually right away, we can tell you all of the things that aren't going well. Our propensity to complain is like surface level, right? Correct? But like being able to dig in and pull out the good stuff takes a little bit more effort. And if you aren't trained in that, it might feel damn near impossible. Okay. So when I say gratitude is kind of a common denominator between a lot of limiting beliefs, it can be linked to scarcity mindset. If you're struggling with scarcity mindset, thinking like there's, just struggling with the idea of abundance or there's not enough success, community, prospects to go, there's just not enough. That is linked to gratitude issues. Comparison. If you're stuck in comparison mode all the time, that's a gratitude issue. If you're stuck in perfectionism, that's a gratitude issue. If you're focusing on the negative, you find yourself like, being that one that's got that laundry list of complaints and the Eeyore, womp, 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 life's having a hard time. Like that's a gratitude issue. Future tripping. If you're always focused on like that next thing and what's not happening or what's coming around the corner, anxiety about the future, that is a gratitude issue. If you are quick to kind of feel like the victim or feel like the martyr, being like it's all, feeling like life is always happening to you or taking a big dump on you, like that is a gratitude issue. Now, that's not to say we don't all have real problems. That's not to say that like things aren't real issues and real struggles and that it's not really painful, because that's not the point. It's able to be in that moment and also identify and attach ourselves to the good stuff that's all around us and finding gratitude in that moment. And that goes back to something Lyndsi was talking about in terms of that neuroplasticity, in terms of our mind believing, training our mind will believe what we're telling it. And so what does it sound like? I'm not going to read all of these, but if you have ever heard yourself say in your brain any of these things, I'll never be as successful as she is. I have to hustle all the time or I'm going to lose it all. I'm working so hard, but nothing seems to go my way. Why don't you type something in if you find yourself saying any of these things, put it in the chat. Which one, as you're skimming that, comes like true for you? My business isn't growing as fast enough. I don't want to admit that I need help. What are the things? Put one of these in the chat, or if you don't see it, but something else comes to mind. What is that? What's on that inner loop? What's on that track? And when we're looking at those I am statements like Courtney was talking about, I think we have to get honest about what that negative loop sounds like. Because if we can't get honest around what we're actually saying to ourselves, we can't reframe it. We can't flip it. We can't adjust it. And then it's just going to keep playing. Now, we all do this. This is something that happens to all of us. So it's not a shame thing. This is the work we all get to do. And And we might be further along on that journey, but we're just, kicking that can down the road. All right, so put that in the chat. I'm going to keep going. So what does a healthy, gratitude, grounded brain mindset sound like? That means that we're seeing the good around us, even if we're in the middle of a crap storm. With an abundance mindset, there's enough success for everyone. There's so much opportunity and growth and happiness accessible to all of us. We feel confidence and peace in our path, no matter what stage of that journey we're on. Okay. Even if we're like struggling to like get the wheels on and, off the ground, we can still feel confident and peace in that path. We're able to see the lessons and the blessings in the struggle. Yes, this is part of it. We are all going to have the struggle. We are all going to fail. I like to say I failed my way forward for the last 11 years, but it's able to see the lessons and the beauty in those struggles. Seeing failure as opportunities and also letting failure propel you forward and be a catalyst forward versus something that's going to like anchor you stuck. You're someone who regularly expresses gratitude. Thank you. Appreciating the people around you, the people that are around you every day, the people that are touching your life, someone that might just be a nice cashier or working hard to take care of your life in some way. The people who are pouring into you. Positive focus and outlook. Now, again, we're not talking toxic positivity, but we're talking about being able to see the beauty, even in the midst of the storm, and being committed to not being the doom and gloom person, the one that can see the hope and optimism. You can handle frustration and setbacks with peace and ease. I have frustrations and setbacks every week. It's about being able to navigate those and feeling at peace. The old me and still sometimes now, like something doesn't go my way or goes terribly, terribly wrong, and I would implode. It would derail me. Did not have that emotional control. And it would like, think of like a hose that's going full blast that has no one holding onto it. And it's just whipping around everywhere, causing havoc. Like that's how my emotions would rule me. And it's being able to like, be like, no, I'm aware of these feelings. I can still feel peace and grounded in that. You can be hopeful for the future, but also be grateful in the present. You can be, instead of being so focused on the future, you can have that gratitude for the present moment. And then really rooted in that growth mindset, and then can express love, appreciation, and respect openly and consistently. So this is the goal, right? Does anyone feel like they've got all of this dialed 100%? I mean, I'm sure there's some of it we might feel stronger in than others, but like, this is the goal. This is what I aspire for. And this is kind of my measuring stick. Like, how am I doing in these areas? So how do we train that? How do we move forward in that? This is, again, a screenshot kind of thing, but we have to have that self-awareness like we've talked about. It's intentionally choosing to shift our focus, reframing those thoughts, practicing mindfulness. Do you guys see a theme here with how we can start doing this work in every single pillar? I think gratitude work is maybe some of the most fun work because it's quick and easy. It's a low-hanging fruit, really immediate shift. This was probably the thing that changed my life and my business early on and continue to. But having a gratitude journal, having gratitude rituals, expressing gratitude. You guys, it's just as simple as setting a timer for 3 minutes and sending messages of gratitude, thank yous, and love, and having fun with it. You can it's practicing random acts of kindness. It's this next step is like addressing when you get into that headspace of scarcity and comparison, like identifying it, catching yourself in that moment, and then reshifting it. Sometimes it's just as simple as getting off of social media. If you're someone who struggles with comparison and that pulls you into a place of negativity and off the goal, it's identifying, I have a typo there, but it's getting off of social media or pulling those people out of your news feed, right? Getting like hiding them, muting them, unfollowing them, etc. Celebrating the wins all around you is the next step, because guarantee you there are wins happening. When I was a school counselor and I was working with kids, I worked a lot in elementary with and a lot of my students that I spent a lot of time with were the little guys, the little boys that just really had a hard time being in a square, of a square peg, round hole, being forced to sit at a table, at a desk, and follow the rules. And they just had a lot of energy because that's, because they're boys. And yet they're forced into this system, right? And so it was a lot of coaching with the teachers of like how to work with them, support them, give them that wiggle room inside this structured framework and focus on what was going well, right? And and like focusing on what was going well so we could reinforce the good, positive reinforcement. And nothing's going on. They get this really negative headspace. And all I can do is tell me this litany of reasons why this child was like the bane of their existence. And I'm like, you've got to find some win, one win. Like, even if it's as like, and I would start with like the base, like, are they breathing? Are they breathing well? Are they breathing quietly? Can we focus on one thing? Like, are they breathing quietly? Well, yeah. Okay, let's celebrate that. We're gonna build off of that. And it sounds so silly, but it's like they've literally got so blind focus that they couldn't start with that, celebrating those wins and building off of that because it's a scaffolding. Again, surrounding yourself with positive people. You are not able to live a positive life with negative people as your circle of influence. Those 5 people that you spend time around. And we are really lucky, like we already said, to be in this community because we have that positive influence. But then you're maybe spending 10%, 5% of your life plugged in here, and then the rest of your time is going to be around the people in your life. So how intentional are you around making sure those are people that cultivate that growth and that gratitude? And sometimes you need to lead by example there. And then being kind to yourself, because it's not going to be something that happens overnight. It's not going to be something that just happens with the flip of a switch. It's about practicing self-compassion and celebrating yourself. So bringing that sponge, putting this into action. Again, like I said, gratitude work is probably the most fun for me because it is something that can just it enhances every facet of your life when you start doing this. And so I'm going to go through what all these little graphics mean really fast, but to be thinking of what's 1 or 2 things that you can start doing today. And for me, it's as simple as waking up in the morning. And I'm not someone who like jumps out of bed really early and I like love just being awake. I like being cozy in bed and I like sleeping in. So I have really turned that into some gratitude work every day. So I will, instead of reaching for my phone, I will give myself permission to just like cozy in and get really cozy. And I have my dogs all around me. And usually there's a cat in the room. And I just focus on how grateful I am for these little souls that I'm blessed to take care of and the life. And I go through and I inventory my life while I'm in my happy place, which is cozy in my bed, surrounded by my fur babies. And I just focus rather than picking up my phone. And the first thing I see is work and stress or a message or toxic newsfeed or something, right? So I block that out and I just start my day with gratitude because it's going to shift the trajectory of your entire day if you can start your day with what you're most grateful for. Gratitude is like an abundance mindset is a magnet for more abundance, for more positivity, for more love and the things you're grateful for. So right now, like building that mindset muscle, that gratitude muscle is mindfulness, being still, like I just said. You can maybe take a walk outside, go sit with a cup of tea, focus on, take that inventory, like do that gratitude ritual of all of the things you're grateful for, big and small. And it's not just the low-hanging fruit of family, God, kids. Go deeper than that. Go bigger than that. It's doing mindset work that helps, cultivate that gratitude muscle. Something simple as like writing thank you cards, thank you notes, sending appreciation notes. Evidence, like that book of proof that we know about. Like, it's like, what is the proof that there are wins happening in your life? You have to train yourself to go look for those things. Those random acts of kindness, setting, like journaling, just doing a gratitude journal. I have a gratitude journal that I used to do religiously where every night I would just write 5 things I was grateful for every single night. And I challenge myself to think of something new every day. Start with 2 things, start with 1 thing, start with 3 things. Going outside and just getting outside, putting your phone down. I don't think you can be walking through nature and not be grateful for the beauty around you, even if it's your yard, right? So, and then just making sure you're really intentional about that circle of influence. If you are trying to cultivate gratitude or growth or positivity or any of this in your life, and you're around people who poison the well there constantly, then you're never going to be able to move the needle there. So being really, really intentional about those, the people that are the 5 people you spend the most time with are feeding into these goals for you. And that is it. We do have a gift for you. We did pull together and the slides for this will be in, the show notes, or the caption for this training. I'm trying to do that more and more. But we have I'm trying to pull it up. We have a PD book, and I'll try to put the caption or the description of each of these, but basically these are all of our kind of, you can't go wrong as a beginner in personal development world. These are our top recommendations that we kind of pulled together as far as the ones that like we started with, we recommend starting with. And this document is in the Google Drive in the Getting Started folder. So, and I'll put some descriptors in there so you can see, but like, again, you want this to be relevant and personal. But I don't think you can go wrong with starting with any of those because they're really great beginner foundational personal development books. Now I know that this is a lot and there might be like, I want to tackle all of these things. Pick one pillar and just really try to like show yourself how malleable and like growable your mindset is. And know that this is just as simple as, all of this is as simple as deciding that you're gonna do this, deciding that you want to grow, deciding that you want to strengthen this aspect of your life. So thank you for tuning in with us, and sorry this went a little long, but hopefully this was really helpful and we can't wait to hear your takeaways.